Hello snowboarders of the internet, I'm your host Avran LeFeber, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the Salomon Highlander binding. I rode this binding at Arapahoe Basin on an overcast, heavy snow, light snow falling, kind of spring powder day, so you had a mix of like heavy powder, light powder, chunder, ice, slush on the lower mountain, which was weird. Low visibility, and I rode it on my K2 Cool Bean with my K2 Thraxis boots. Adjustability. You got twist cams on the toe and the heel to lengthen or shorten the straps just to see how they place on the boot. And then you've got your forward lean screw for your high back down here on the bottom of the chassis, so you can either move it forward or backwards. And well, that's it. Alright, so the heel strap is that harder plastic, very minimal design. That way it contours around the instep of the boot, but it relies on your boot for the padding. Now, it is a little more rigid, which does leave more to be desired with how you flex into that, as well as just hot spots. Like if your boot gets a hot spot, it's going to be just amplified. Now, the toe strap is a little more malleable. It does actually have some cutouts to it so that it will contour around various boot shapes. I have more of a pointy nose boot. It locked in fine. It felt secure. With the ratchets, they're a little bit bigger, which actually helps guide that ladder in easier. So overall, these do climb really well. They actually release really smoothly. I didn't have any problems with them sticking or just bottoming out. My only caveat with them is that you don't have a one finger quick release tab on that toe strap. Just put the damn thing on there, make it uniform instead of having to grab it from the front and release it. It's just a counterintuitive movement. I know so many people are like, oh, it doesn't really mean shit. Look, man, when you get into the rhythm of things and you're used to having a uniform release, if it's one finger quick release on one, it should be one finger quick release on the other instead of having to get it in the front and really push into it. Overall, ratchets are really solid on these. So with the high back, as I mentioned, you adjust it down on the chassis and it sits in that slide track, and then that basically dictates how it pushes into that shadow fit heel cup, which has more give in it. Now, the big thing with shadow fit is it's not for everyone. It creates a lot of lateral play in that heel, so you don't get as much power and drive if you really push your boot into it. It's more like riding a skateboard or a surfboard type feel where you can kind of set your foot up. And with that said, due to that, I couldn't tell you if the high back was more rigid or soft. It just felt like it was there and doing its thing. I mean, when I was riding at least, I mean, I know if I grab it, there's some give to it and you can feel it. I mean, if you push back, there's some power there, but overall that shadow fit kind of overpowers the high back in my opinion, and so it really doesn't feel like it's doing anything. So this is supposed to be a stiffer shadow fit binding from Salomon. I'll be honest with you, it felt like a middle of the road. It just doesn't feel that stiff or rigid. You have a lot of lateral play due to the shadow fit. The straps are a little more rigid, but you're really relying on your boot for the padding and stuff, and it feels like your boot is actually where the stiffness comes from. I do ride a stiffer boot, but it's broken in nice and perfect for me, so it's not overpowering with it. Overall, it's just a middle of the road flexing binding in my opinion. There's nothing that really stands out with it being rigid. You do get a little bit more lateral play, as I said, from that shadow fit. So if you're looking for that, where you can kind of just drive on the outside of your foot and the inside when you're going forward, or the inside and the outside when you're pushing into the tail, then maybe check them out. Now with the ride of this binding, the best way to describe it is powerful surfy. You notice that you do have power down into the toe and the heel. You can really feel that when you push down in it, but you get a lot of lateral play, which gives it that surfy feel, so you can over exaggerate your turns and really slash when you're on a berm or you're in fresh pow or something like that. Who's this binding for? The surfy all mountain rider. So the heel cup coupled with that heel strap created a pinch point, and it just felt like it was restricting my movement, which is really weird because shadow fit is not designed to restrict movement. You're supposed to get that surfy feel with that lateral play. I just felt it pinching in my boot. So it's probably my boot that was the issue, but you may have issues with that. I don't really know. For the price of this binding, I feel like it's kind of overrated, honestly. I mean, There's going to be someone that wants something that doesn't have a lot of adjustability, that's got power directly underfoot, but with a lot of lateral play to give it that surfy feel. For me, that's not my thing. I like to have a little more lateral drive so I can put more power into the board. Comparable bindings, the Rome Katana, the K2 Lean AT, the Union Strata. This has been my review of the Salomon Highlander binding. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you own one? Are you going to buy some? Leave me a comment down below. Let's have a conversation about this binding. If you're new here, remember to subscribe, click the bell, get those notifications. That way you're not missing any of the videos we got coming out for all you snowboarders of the internet. And if you really like what we're doing over here and you want to support us further, swing on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP and become a member. Sure, I could tell you more here, but I got a video over there that explains it so much better. As always, I've been your host, Avran LeFeber, and I'll see you in another video.